Hello everyone, it's 5 p.m. In California. That means it's 8 o'clock in Taiwan and in Malaysia. So we're going to start and ask everyone in joining me in putting our palms together as we recite the Buddha's name. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Namo sadanto suchetoye alahati sanmiao sanputoche. Wu shang shen shen wei miao fa, bai qian wan jie nan zao yi. Wo jin jian wen de shou chu, yan jie ru lai chen shu yi. Now in English, supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in a billion eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. Welcome everyone to the fourth class of the Sutra on the Medicine Master Buddha. While we wait for more people to join us, I think we have 37 people online right now, which is pretty good. We'll recite the Buddha's name 7 times. Okay. Namo quelling disasters, lengthening life, Medicine Master Buddha. 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 And one more time. Namo quelling disasters, lengthening life, Medicine Master Buddha. Hope everyone's doing fine. I just realized there is a spelling error here on this page. Does anyone see it? It's the word Dharma. I believe that should be capital D. Yes. Okay. Let me bring up the on-screen notes. That's what this file is called. We'll do a quick recap of what we did during the last class. Okay. My apologies for the quick scrolling. I know it's very jarring on the eyes. Thank you for bearing with me. So in the last class, I said that we will start to go straight through to the practice part of the sutra. And once we're done with the practice, so people can practice if they want to, then we can revisit the sutra in its more conventional format. So in the morning ceremony, we chant Medicine Master Buddha. And then in lunch, this is CDTB and DRBA branch monasteries. This is what we do. And then at lunchtime, if you have joined us for the meal offering at CDTB, at the Buddha Hall, while we walk all the way to the dining hall, we chant Shakyamuni Buddha's name. And then in the evening ceremony, as we circumambulate, we chant Amitabha Buddha's name. And then we outlined the types of practice that was found in the sutra. That's on page 12 of the sutra. That's the mantra, which we covered last week in the last class. And then we have reciting and upholding the name of the Buddha. And this is really interesting because this is Pure Land practice. And this is what we're going to concentrate on today and probably the next 1 or 2 classes as well. Excuse me while I take a drink. And then number 3, the sutra talks about making offerings of flowers, incense, music, lamps before an image of Medicine Master Buddha. The sutra talks about how we can write the sutra or ask other people to do it if you are unable to write the sutra yourself. This can include, say, carving it in stone, or painting an image of the Pure Land, which there's a lot that exists of Medicine Master Buddha in the Dunhuang caves in China, and then constantly reciting it single-mindedly. Doing number 5, what we're doing right now, listening to the sutra being taught by a monk or nun and then making offerings. The sutra outlines, or rather Shufu, talks about what are the specific offerings you can make. Yeah, there are 4 kinds of offerings. And then number 6 are special practices with like if you're suffering from a certain ailment or you have nightmares, the sutra talks about what you can do to elevate that. And then not in the sutra, but associated with Medicine Master Buddha, and this is a big thing in esoteric Buddhism, or what some people call the secret school, is meditation and visualization. And then there's a related sutra to this. It's called the Sutra on the Merits of the Fundamental Vows of the 7 Buddhas of Lapis Lazuli Radiance, the Masters of Healing. And that sutra, if we have time, we can go into that because it has different forms of practice as well. Okay, and then we introduce the mantra of Medicine Master Buddha, and let me see who pointed out. Someone pointed out that there was a spelling error, which I've highlighted in red. So HI should have been BI. Namo poche fadi bishasha jilu bilubi bolapa halashye dota chetoye Allah di samya samputo che nachetanan bisasha samojeri so. It takes 20 minutes to recite this 108 times, which is outlined in the sutra. So it's this short mantra is really really convenient. Yeah. I have been preparing the monks' meals because California, the Bay Area, people have been discouraged to travel. They call it shelter in place. So some of our regular donors, they have to keep themselves and their family members safe, so they are not going out as much. So which means I become the cook. And when I am cooking, this is what I recite all the time when I cook. Yeah. And here you have the same mantra, but in Sanskrit, and it sounds fairly different from the one on top, which is based on the Chinese transliteration of what the Sanskrit is. And then one of our WhatsApp members, let me go down. Guat Li found this. I think it's on Guat Li. Is this on the Shufu's Talks on Dharma, Volume 1 to 11? Okay, volume is low. Okay, let me look at the chat box. We have some chats. Volume is low. Does anyone else have issues with volume? Let me know. Let me see if I can. Should I adjust? Please let me know. And then Omero is asking if we can zoom out so we see the entire page. Yes, we can. But because most people are using a mobile phone, and I know there's a lot of we have a lot of elderly people joining us. I don't want to make it too small, so people have difficulty reading. I hope this is better, Homero. Let me know so I can find the sweet spot. Okay. All right. For the person who said the volume is low, everyone else says they seem to be okay. So you might want to check your volume level. Okay. So today we go to reciting and upholding the name of the Buddha. And if you are on the WhatsApp group is kind of like the how you say what did I say? It's like the tutorial to the lecture. What is the lecture right now? This is kind of like the lecture, and then the WhatsApp group is like the tutorial, where sometimes I'll ask people to consider certain things. Like I give them a heads up on what's going to happen today. I can ask them questions, or they have questions, and they can share things that they find that's related, like this verse that you see on screen in front of you that was found by Guat Li. So the verse says, and this is Shufu's verse, "In the west, the Buddha Dharma radiates a bright light of dawn. As in the east, it rescues beings and bestows long life and health. If you can awaken to your basic nature, your unborn being, on the spot you ascend together to the 10,000 Buddha's land." So Guat Li asked me if I could explain this. I don't it's pretty concise and self-explanatory, you know. I don't think I can really say much about the verse. Yeah, it's like like a perfect verse, awaken to your basic nature, your unborn being. On the spot, you ascend together to the 10,000 Buddhas land. That's it. That's Shufu. Okay, so reciting and upholding the name of the Buddha, I thought for this part it would be really good to invite one of the patriarchs. Yes, we have a patriarch. There's guest joining us for today, and he is Bodhi Dharma. Okay, Bodhi Dharma. Let me increase the size so you can. Oh, that was quick. Okay. So this is from a publication called The Zen Teaching of Bodhi Dharma. For those of you who are not familiar with who Bodhi Dharma is was the first patriarch of China, and he came from India. And he only left us 3 teachings, and all 3 are in this book, translated by Red Pine, who is a friend of CDDB. He only left us 3 teachings. He's credited with founding the Shaolin Kung Fu style. I'm not sure how accurate that is. I think that's fairly accurate. And this is called the Breakthrough Sermon. So he left us 3 sermons. This is from the Breakthrough Sermon. It's one of my favorites because Bodhi Dharma, in true Chan style, he breaks down. What does he break down? He breaks down our grasping on forms and our attachment to forms. And because of the attachment, we don't know how to go beyond the form into the actual meaning. So he kind of explains what's going on. And I hope you will like Bodhi Dharma as much as I do. Okay, let me see if I can make this slightly bigger so it's easier on people's eyes. Oops, maybe too big. Yeah, too big. Fit visible. There you go. Okay. Okay, so it starts with someone asking Bodhi Dharma a question. And the question is highlighted on your screen. It says, the sutras say that someone who wholeheartedly invokes the Buddha is sure to be reborn in the Western paradise. Okay, this is Amitabha's Pure Land, the Western paradise. Since this door leads to Buddhahood, why seek liberation in beholding the mind? What is beholding the mind? Beholding the mind means to practice Chan meditation. At least that's what I think it means. Yeah. So Bodhi Dharma is really he's really straight in his answer. He says, if you're going to invoke the Buddha, you have to do it right. Unless you understand what invoking means, you do it wrong. And if you do it wrong, you never go anywhere. Okay, let me move to the next page. That's the original Chinese that the English text is translated from. Okay, so Bodhidharma says, Buddha means awareness, the awareness of body and mind that prevents evil from arising in either. And to invoke means to call to mind, to call constantly to mind the rules of discipline and to follow them with all your might. Okay, I want you guys to mentally note the word discipline here, because it means precepts, which we'll revisit. Carrying on here, this is what's meant by invoking. Invoking has to do with thought and not with language. If you use a trap to catch fish, once you succeed, you can forget the trap. And if you use language to find meaning, once you find it, you can forget language. Okay, so Bodhidharma is saying, you use language to find meaning. Once you find it, you can forget language. Okay, we'll try to figure out what that means. If anyone can help me, please. Okay, to invoke the Buddha's name, you have to understand the Dharma of invoking. If it's not present in your mind, your mouth chants an empty name. As long as you are troubled by the 3 poisons or by thoughts of yourself, your deluded mind will keep you from seeing the Buddha, and you only waste your effort. Chanting and invoking are worlds apart. Okay, that's really important, because for a long time, I thought that the Pure Land practice was just reciting the Buddha's name. Okay, that's what I thought. You just recite the Buddha's name. The more you recite, the better it is. If you can recite 10,000 times, 100 times, I've never tried 100,000 times, but the more you can recite, the better it is. That's what I thought. Okay, so what else does Bodhi Dharma say? It says, chanting is done with the mouth. Invoking is done with the mind. And because invoking comes from the mind, it's called the door to awareness. Chanting is centered in the mouth and appears as sound. If you cling to appearances while searching for meaning, you won't find a thing. Thus, sages of the past cultivated introspection and not speech. Okay, so Bodhi Dharma is trying to point you to your mind. Okay, let me mute all. Okay. Okay, we'll continue here. This mind is the source of all virtues, and this mind is the chief of all powers. The eternal bliss of nirvana comes from the mind at rest. Rebirth in the three realms also comes from the mind. The mind is the door to every world, and the mind is the fort to the other shore. Those who know where the door is don't worry about reaching it. Those who know where the fort is don't worry about crossing it. So notice that Bodhi Dharma is talking about the mind. So the Pure Land practice, as far as Bodhi Dharma is concerned, doesn't happen at the mouth. It happens in the mind. Okay. And then he goes on to say, okay, I think we'll stop here in terms of what Bodhi Dharma has to say. And I will go back to the part where he talks about discipline, which is here. Okay, discipline, precepts. Why am I highlighting discipline or precepts? Because in the, where is the daily recitation handbook? Okay, this is page 96 of the CDT of our DRBA recitation handbook, and I wanted to point to this part, and I'm going to increase the size. Okay, this is the section that says, and this is the Buddha speaking, Shakyamuni Buddha. It says, Shariputra, if there's a good man or woman who hears spoken Amitabha and holds the name whether for 1 day, 2 days, 3, 4, 5 days, 6 days, as long as 7 days with one heart unconfused. Okay, the keyword here is one heart unconfused. That means single-mindedly reciting the Buddha's name. And when this person approaches the end of life, before him will appear Amitabha and all the assembly of holy ones. So how do you get to be one heart, single-mindedly, one heart unconfused from 1 day to 7 days? And this state is unmistakable. If you reach this state, you, how would I put it? You know, you have no doubt that you are single-mindedly concentrated. There's no doubt at all. You don't need anyone to tell you. If you're unsure, hey, was I single-mindedly? It means that you were not. Okay. So how do you get there? Well, the Buddha gave us a formula. It's called precepts, samadhi, and wisdom. And for this, I shall show you a picture. Okay, many years ago, Yong Fashu was teaching a precept class. He asked, I think it was Jin Chuanxue and myself, to fill in for him for 1 or 2 classes. And so I made this chart to show people about the role of precepts. Okay, let me just increase this a bit more. Okay. So if you look at the top, it says, when a person acts in violation of the precepts, he excites and reinforces the very same mental factors his practice of meditation is intended to eliminate. So precepts actually help you concentrate. So when the Buddha taught precept, samadhi, and wisdom, you build samadhi or concentration on the foundation of precepts. What are precepts? You can call precepts character or virtue. How can you see what is the evidence of character and virtue? In how you treat people, in the thoughts that you bring towards your relationships. So if you are able to do that, what does the Buddha say? It's like when I was young, you used to play snake and ladders with dice. This reminds me of that. It says you start here with precepts, okay? And if you understand the role of precepts, and you're not holding it for yourself, but you're holding it on behalf of all living beings, and you respect all the people that you meet, you're able to treat them with the same care and respect as you do for people you care about, like your parents or your teachers. Over time, because you don't do anything wrong, you have freedom from remorse. You don't second guess, like, oh, I should have done that, I shouldn't have said that, or I should have said that. You don't think twice about what you've done because you know you've done it to the best of your ability. So you have freedom from remorse. And this freedom from remorse gives you a sense of joy and gladness. You feel good about yourself. Why? Because you're not a jerk. Okay? And probably because you're not a jerk, people like you too. So I guess that helps. Maybe. Yeah. And then this joy and gladness, what happens is it leads to rapture. What is rapture? Rapture here, this formula, rapture means your body. Because in practice, and anyone who's ever been sick before will quickly find out, the body and the mind are closely linked. You can't separate the body from the mind when it comes to practice. So when your mind is really calm and you don't hold anger, you have very little greed, your body becomes really soft and pliant. And when you try to meditate, the body doesn't fight back. I'm not sure if that makes sense. If you try to sit, you can figure that out. If your approach to sitting is very military-like, full of using strength to hold yourself up, sooner or later you realize that fatigue comes in pretty quickly, and you don't get a pleasant sit. But if your approach to meditation is you start by being mindful of the body and you relax your muscles and you learn how to use your skeletal structure to hold your body up, just like a clothes hanger. You hang a shirt on a clothes hanger or a blouse, and the fabric represents your muscles and the coat hanger represents your skeleton. So your muscles can relax and be supported by your bones. Okay, if you do the precepts well and you try to meditate, your body doesn't fight back with you and it feels just really good. So that's called rapture. And then because of that, your mind becomes really calm, and that's the tranquility part. And then because you're sitting there, you don't have to move because your body is not uncomfortable, your mind is calm and peaceful, you get happiness. And it's not like a crazy jumping around kind of happiness. This happiness is like a very quiet smile on your face that you feel complete just sitting there. There's nothing pulling your mind away like lunchtime, or there's something better that you could do, or why are you just sitting there? You don't have those thoughts. Your mind is peaceful, your body is calm and soft and compliant. And that's what leads to concentration. Because your body doesn't fight against you, your mind doesn't fight against you. Because of precepts, you've already know how to regulate your mind. It's very easy to develop concentration and stay in concentration. That's the key, staying in concentration. A lot of people, when they first start, they might get certain states and then they quickly get frustrated because they are unable to maintain concentration. And then when you are concentrated and all discursive thoughts fall away, The Buddha says you have the wisdom of seeing things as they are. You see through life. You see through your thoughts. You see through how you navigate yourself, what your mind tells you. And the result of that is that you are able to put things down. And the end result of that is deliverance. You become an arhat, or at least a first stage arhat. And what does the sutta has to say? Well, in the Mahanama Sutra, which is a sutta spoken to Mahanama, who was a monk, the Buddha says, at any time when a disciple of the noble ones, let me mute all. Okay. At any time when a disciple of the noble ones is recollecting virtue, his mind is not overcome with passion, not overcome with aversion, not overcome with delusion. His mind heads straight based on virtue, straightforward mind. And when the mind is headed straight, the disciple of the noble one gains a sense of the goal, gains a sense of the Dharma, and gains joy connected with the Dharma. In one who is joyful, rapture arises. In one who is rapturous, the body grows calm. One whose body is calm experiences ease. In one at ease, the mind becomes concentrated. So that's the formula that the Buddha gave for anyone who wants to build proper concentration. You start with your character, with how you treat yourself and the people around you, and you start paying attention to your relationships, and that's where your concentration has a foundation to build upon. So I have this story to share, which is about Elder Master Xi Yin. Okay, because every time I see this precept samadhi wisdom connection, I always think about someone like maybe a monk. It doesn't need to be a monk. Someone who, just because they know how to treat people right, they're just really calm and they don't have any regrets, and it's almost like they have a quiet smile on their face. So what happened with Elder Master Xi Yin? He was meditating in the Zhongnan Mountains. Zhongnan Mountains is in China, and when it's in winter time, there's a lot of snow. And he had a few hermit monks in not living with him, but in huts fairly nearby, maybe like an hour or two trek. So the story goes, and this is the story found in Elder Master Xi Yin's biography. I think it's called White Clouds. Yeah. If anyone knows, please help me out. Okay, so what he was doing, it was winter and he was boiling water because he wanted to cook potatoes, and then I guess he put the potatoes in the pot, the water was boiling, and then he just sat down waiting for the potatoes to cook. And then he heard a knock on the door, and he opened the door, and there were 3 monks who lived nearby, and they told him, "Where have you been? We haven't seen you in a while. Like, what are you doing?" And he didn't know what they were talking about, and he just said, "Oh, well, actually I was just about to have lunch, and would you guys like to join me for lunch?" Okay, he probably didn't say it that way. He was probably very respectful. And then he opened the pot, and guess what he found in the pot? He found, does anyone want to guess? Anyone knows this story? 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay. He opened the... Yes, who was that? Was that Karen?
Felicia.
Oh, Felicia. Yes. What did he find?
Mole.
Mole. Yes, he found mole. Yeah. Basically, all the water had dried up, and what was left was mole, and not just like normal mole, but the mole was, I think, a few inches thick. Yeah. So it had been a long time. So meaning, while he was waiting for his potatoes to cook, or his root, his tubers, he probably just started reciting the Buddha's name, or he might have been paying attention to his breathing, and he entered samadhi. So That's what happens when you have the precepts done right. When you have virtue, the mind in its very calm state, it's really easy to enter concentration. As opposed to, say, someone like me sitting down there, like really trying, not getting anywhere. Yeah. So the next time you meditate, just think that, use the metaphor that the cushion or the floor that you're sitting on, as a metaphor for precepts. That's where what your meditation should be built upon. Okay, let me. Where are my notes? Where's my notes? Okay. So let me bring you back to Bodhi Dharma, and I'm going to follow Omero's advice and just zoom out a bit. Okay, I'm going to highlight this. This is so... Okay. Okay, this part that I highlighted. To invoke the Buddha's name, you have to understand the Dharma of invoking. If it's not present in your mind, your mouth chants an empty name. And then here, okay, chanting is done with the mouth, invoking is done with the mind. So what Bodhi Dharma, if I understand correctly, and anyone who knows, who has a different interpretation or who knows more, please chime in. What I think Bodhi Dharma is trying to say is that while you are literally reciting the Buddha's name, like Amitabha's name, it says don't forget your mind. Because the mind has to be, what should you do with your mind? Is your mind just blank? Is the Pure Land practice so easy, just sitting there and reciting the Buddha's name? Actually, the next Petrarch that I'm going to introduce, which is the sixth Petrarch, had that question posed to him. Yeah. So I believe what Bodhi Dharma is trying to say is that if you don't pay attention to your thoughts of greed, to your thoughts of anger or hatred, and to your thoughts of ignorance, then you are doing an empty practice, because there's no transformation going on. You're not transforming your bad habits into pure habits. So to Bodhi Dharma, Pure Land practice is all about transforming yourself, but he doesn't go into much detail. I guess maybe because he was speaking to monks. That's my guess. And the context for this is that at that time, the monks there already knew what he was saying. When he talks about the mind, what is the mind? The minds are all your thoughts, where your thoughts come from. So you have to pay attention to your thoughts. Okay, so we have about 10 minutes before we end. That gives us some time to go to what Sixth Petrarch has to say. And Sixth Petrarch is a bit more generous. He does outline it in clearer terms that we can, it's easier to understand. Okay, again, let me... So this is our BTTS text. It's page 39 of the revised edition of the Sixth Petrarch Sutra. Okay, visible. Okay, so this is Prefect Wei, who oversees, like I think it's like a governor. Yeah, like maybe a governor who oversees the place where the Sixth Petrarch is. And before I go there, there's Chui has a chat. He says the worst translation, the worst VERSE translation to unborn being could be wrong. In Chinese, should refer to stage of non-production of Dharma. Chui, if you could elaborate on what exactly it is that you are referring to. Was it the verse shared by Guat Li? Yeah, just type it there. Okay, so the sutra in this section, it starts with Prefect Wei. I think he hosted a banquet and he invited the Sixth Petrarch. Okay, so Chui says yes, he's talking about that verse. We can revisit that at the end of class. And he asked the sixth Petra a question. Says the prefect further asked, your disciple often sees the Sangha and laity reciting Amitabha Buddha, hoping to be reborn in the West, parenthesis, in the Pure Land. Please explain this for me. Will they actually gain rebirth there? Please resolve my doubts. So in DRBU, in the MA class, which I was in, this is one of the texts that we studied. And one of the things we talked about was, why would Prefect Wei ask this question? He says he often sees the Sangha and laity reciting Amitabha's name. So one of the speculations, one of the ideas was, perhaps he just saw people reciting the Buddha's name, but either they never changed their habits, they were still who they were, they still had a lot of bad habits, they never paid, or maybe they just only paid attention to reciting the Buddha's name, and they weren't very decent people. That was one of the speculations, because there's no context as to why he would ask this question other than what we have in front of us. So the sixth Petrarch, what he said was, okay, I'm going to start here. It says, Prefect, listen carefully. I will explain it for you. When the world-honored one was in the city of Shravasti, he thought about the Western Pure Land as an inducement to practice. Okay, what's an inducement to practice? An inducement to practice is to tell you, to make you want to practice. Okay, what would be something that would make me want to practice? Okay, let me show you. On-screen notes. Okay, Chui is referring to this. It says that translation, unborn being. Where's unborn being? Your unborn being. Okay, so Chui says this should be stage of non-production of Dharma. Okay. Should be this. Okay, let me increase the size of it. Okay, thank you very much, Chui. Okay, when I read this, it was an inducement for me to practice. Okay, this is the Buddha telling, there's a sutra called the Seven Buddhas, which I outlined as number 8 or 7 in the list of practices. These 8 Buddhas apparently are all supposed to be Medicine Master Buddha himself. So in this sutra, the Buddha tells Manjushri, say, "Oh Manjushri, there is a great spiritual formula, meaning mantra, named Lapis Lazuli, Radiance Force of the Samadhi of the Tathagatas." That's a really impressive name. If there are any sons or daughters who write it out, who read and recite it, who reverently offer puja to it in worship, who generate the mind of great compassion towards all sentient beings, then all their desires will be fulfilled. Okay, that was the key thing for me. All their desires will be fulfilled. The various Buddhas will manifest their forms and will hold them to their protective thoughts. That means you'll be in the Buddha's thoughts. They will be separated from all their obstructions and afflictions, and they will be reborn in a Buddha realm. After I saw this, then all their desires will be fulfilled. I was soul. I even forgot this part. So what is that? That is an inducement to practice. Yeah, as an inducement to practice. It tells you about something that you like so much that you ask yourself, oh, yeah, I really want to be there. What do I need to do? Okay, an inducement to practice. So the sixth paragraph goes on. It says, the text of the sutra clearly states, it is not far from here. In discussing this, it might appear that it is 108,000 miles away, but it just means that the 10 evils and 8 wrongs are right within ourselves. Describing it as distant is meant for those with limited capacity. Saying it is nearby is for those with greater ability. Does that make sense? Yes? Maybe? Okay, we have 5 minutes left before I continue with what the sixth patriarch has to say. Does anyone have any comments, suggestions, any questions? Anyone? I'm looking at people's video feed, and there's someone who doesn't have a name who seems to be outdoors. Is that Tan from Australia? It's a really nice picture. Let me see if I... Oh, I won't be able to show you because you can only see my shared screen. Yeah, is that, who's that person outside with the blue skies and the green mountains behind? Wow, that's really nice. Okay, no one? Okay, let's continue with the sutra. Okay. Oh, okay. Tan says it wasn't him. Okay, it looks like Australia. Okay. Sixth Patriarch continues. Says there are two kinds of people, not two kinds of Dharma. Oh. Awakening and confusion differ only because discerning may be quick or slow. So it says it depends on you. It's not the Dharma at fault. It's your ability. Deluded people recite the Buddha's name, seeking rebirth elsewhere. Awakened people purify their own minds. It says that is why the Buddha said, as the mind is purified, the Buddha land is purified. So, stopping here so that we can have time to do dedication of merit. If you have read the Lotus Sutra, you realize that right now, all of us, or most of us, or some of us who want to go to Amitabha's Pure Land are already in the Pure Land. We are in Shakyamuni Buddha's Pure Land. The reason why we don't see it, or we don't even know we are in the Pure Land, is because of our own minds. Which is why Bodhi Dharma and Sixth Patriarch are pointing to where your practice should be concentrated on, which is in your thoughts. As we recite the Buddha's name with our mouths, it says, don't neglect the mind. Okay? And and I think that's why they say as the mind is purified, the Buddha land is purified. Because that's what Shakyamuni Buddha says too. Yeah, because Shariputra had the same question. He says, if your land is the pure land, how come it doesn't seem like the pure land? That's what Venerable Shariputra asked Shakyamuni Buddha. Okay, so we'll continue with the rest of this pure land practice I guess it would be next week's class. Sunday for those of you in California, and Monday for those of you in Asia. Okay, let me pull up the dedication of merit. Okay, I'm going to invite everyone to put their palms together and join me. May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may their minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of their endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you on Sunday and Monday. Okay, bye-bye.